I think we need more controversial movies, or to be exact, divisive films that will lead to endless yet pointful and valuable discussions with our peers. Why? Stay tuned. This is a Cinema Lens. Okay, straight into it. In February this year, I got a chance to watch Babylon on theater, and here's what I thought about it. I actually appreciated it more than I enjoyed it. Certainly, there are several film sequences, such as the opening party with Mitty delivering a camera, as well as the exploitation with a changing landscape of silent to sound film transition.
Hiya, this is Joanne.
Mother!
I actually enjoyed those sequences so much, and it's so great that I will talk about it further in another video soon. But then I also find that it's too long. I think that the last 30 minutes could be cut, and I feel that the movie is excessive, especially for the sexual content. And I understand that Chazelle wanted to give a realistic view of the golden era on the Hollywood in the 1920s. But again, it sometimes took me out of the immersion. I really appreciate what Chazelle wanted to deliver. Theme about stardom, the ever-changing technology in filmmaking, the legacy of films. All of these are impressions that stick to me until today. And the ending, whoa, that was amazing. The ending was very, very immersed into me. Fast forward to a month later, I got to meet a college friend of mine who also studies filmmaking. We went for dinner, and one of the topics we talked about was Babylon. Thinking about that it was the best film that Chazelle ever made, and we started to debate about it. Why he liked it so much, the love letter that Chazelle made for cinema. He didn't even think that the film is too long or excessive. I then rebutted with my argument, thinking that while it's all true, there are perhaps some scenes that could be cut out of the movie. Things like the high society party sequence where they invited Ernest Hemingway, I guess? Ernest Hemingway? I forgot who is it, but you know what I'm talking about. And the underground party, which when I watched the movie made several people leave the theater. And it's true, I saw it with my own eyes and I was left in the theater by myself. The conversation kept on going, and in the end, however, there's just no conclusion. Both our opinions about the movie didn't change. But I think it's not fruitless at all, as I received a new perspective to see and to sympathize with. I also gained new knowledge about why there are people who love Babylon, such as my friend, who love it to death. Similar story happened a year ago, around the same time when Don't Look Up was released on Netflix, and honestly, I like that film so much. Okay, I do agree that the film was a bit of snob due to how witty they tried to be, making some absurd allegories to several public figures by pushing the boundaries into some illogical character decision. Nevertheless, I enjoyed the film. I thought that the messages are delivered decently and in a humorous way. The cast was brilliant, and there's this melancholic feeling despite it being a comedic film. The next day, I had a call with my mom. Apparently, she had watched the film, and guess what? She disliked the film. She really felt indifferent towards the film. She felt that the characters are stupid, the message misfire, the film is politically conscious, and the editing is shit. Okay. Same story, we had a debate about the film, but I had to hang up the call because it was getting too late at night. But then I was lying in my bed and I thought to myself, when was the last time I had talked film about this deep, especially for someone who doesn't consider herself or himself as a cinephile? Now, from those two real-life examples that I just gave, it shows how this film actually opened a way to discuss and talk about films. It shouldn't always be controversial. I admit that I clickbaited you, although yes, films like Irreversible, Mother, Antichrist, the 1995 Kids could spark debate among audience. But what's important is that these films are at the very least daring to express their opinions throughout this whole runtime. You see, we live in the era of the internet where we judge what's good or bad through Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. I have to admit that I've been one of the victims where I'll decide which films are good to watch this weekend because it got a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And a lot of my peers, when I say like, oh, let's watch these films, and they will just check their phone and it's like, ah, shit, man, it got 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. Nah, man, I just skip it. I'll pass it, please. Thank you for the invite. Honestly, it hurt my heart so deeply. This, however, is not always the case. Like, Films like Tron just got a 51% in Rotten Tomatoes. And I have to admit, while the screenwriting put the film down, the visuals, the direction, the CG, the soundtrack, all of this combined create a very visual immersion that I've never experienced before, and I almost never experienced it after in theater. And I think that's already great enough for a recommendation. And similar stories like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty by Ben Stiller. Inconsistent but very heartwarming to watch. Rotten Tomatoes doesn't judge these films, and unfortunately, you can see that this number really affects the box office number as well. Back to the topic, you see that we have to allow more divisive films into Hollywood or other film industry. Even Damien Chazelle agree about this. It's good to have something that stimulates conversation and debate and a lot of fierce opinions on either side. We all knew the movie was gonna ruffle some feathers and get some people mad, and I think that's good. More movies should do that. Everyone's gonna have a different take on the film. And I think they're all legitimate. It becomes a world movie in a way. This is what Damien Chazelle say in an interview about why we should allow more divisive films into Hollywood. Well, these days, at the list in the Hollywood scope, just try to count how many Hollywood remakes, spin-offs, and sequels are currently in production compared to original film ideas. These films, I have to say, are safe films that are predicted to be box office success based on the past formulas, and after the end credit roll, we'll just be like, oh yeah, that's a great film, entertaining at least, or yeah, that's bad, just plain bad, and we move on without talking about what the lessons or values that we can take outside of the film. But films aren't only designed for this kind of reactions. That's why we need more divisive films. You see, when you get out of the theater, it won't be those simple reactions that distinguish whether it's good or bad. Those films are expected to create strong reaction or emotions inside you. Perhaps in a film like Vice, you'll say, oh damn, this is a great satirical piece. I was very immersed in it. They made a very serious subject humorous, so we could understand it easily. But then your friend might say, nah man, I don't think it's a great film. Yeah, Christian Bale did deliver, but don't you think that the humor felt one-sided and attacking the right wing? And from then, you might start to talk about historical inaccuracies, what's factual and what's not. The portrayal of Bale might be a strong persona, but is it true to Dick Cheney's life? Maybe. From there on, you could also discuss another aspect like how the film was very pretentious, especially from the editing side. It's as simple as that. You get a lot of knowledge from one movie, influencing the outside of the film experience. The divisive film also help you to grow, in the artist perspective side at the very least. Similar to how artists influence other artists, the artist imitates the art. We've seen this from countless of examples. Fight Club, for example, might have failed at the box office and audience criticized the negative, imitable behavior. But then, the discussion of violence commercialism makes it a cult now and has been a modern source of inspiration for filmmakers. The Neon Demon, a case of style over substance. People might say that Nicholas Winding Refn is a very master in visuals, but then it could also be a lesson for others to take screenplay seriously. And the other film like The Shining, The Tree of Life, The Big Lebowski, these films I mentioned have been inspiration and sometimes taken with direct reference to other films, while at the same time, it also became a subject of controversy or divisive when it got released in the theaters at first. I would like to argue this for the safe films provide a different perspective, what value that these films really give aside from entertainment. Yeah, see, not much actually. It shows how much actually the outer theory really contributes to the world of films. But then, I also understand why people would not want to go into this kind of divisive films. These films, while daring and very expressive, tend to be too expressive, I guess. Setting something that is way beyond the norms of normal, especially in the era of cancel culture. Like, it is understandable why people just want something safe to watch, or perhaps wanting to film that have something in common with their views. Films like Crimes of the Future, while very daring in their expression, is not for everybody, I guess. It could be very well a traumatic experience for people like this. Films are made to be experienced, okay? No matter how good or bad they are, it always have been a portal transporting you into another world to be immersed in it, whether it's a multiverse with a new set of rules, a dystopia that shows the suffering of our world in the future, or even putting us into the point of view of people with other statuses in a realistic world. From the experience, we will always gain something from it, good or bad. Useful or useless, it doesn't matter. Every film is designed to change your life, and so experience the films, all of it. That's my thought, why we need more divisive films. It prompted discussion of films, and in most of the cases, it's a film that will influence other artists to take action, as well as show a strong artistic influence of expression, daring to be different. But what do you guys think? Do you think we need more divisive film than ever? Do you feel like we're in the era that we need to play it safe? I would like to know your thoughts down below. And as usual, please do subscribe. Cinemas will always release this podcast on Thursday and Sunday. And that's it, everybody. I hope you have a very good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And please, make divisive film for you artists, and also enjoy divisive film. Films are made to be experienced.